Greeting of peace. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Mohammed Abu Nimer. I'm a professor of peace and conflict resolution at the American University in Washington, D.C. I'm also president of Salam Institute for Peace and Justice. And today I was asked to talk to you about or share with you my views on the challenges facing interfaith dialogue. And I chose 4 or 5 major obstacles usually face us in this work. The first one is really classic. It's gaining access. Gaining access to people who are not necessarily convinced in the need for dialogue. You could say going beyond preaching to the convert. In interfaith dialogue, most of the time we end up working with people who already convinced with the need for dialogue. They have views that are moderate, but we don't get to those who do not recognize other people's right to practice their faith or even to have a faith different than them. That's the first challenge. The second one is really working with faith-based institutions that are credible and have legitimacy among the people and the followers in that sense. Most of the time we work with individuals who claim to represent their faith group or a faith group, and they have not a wide level of representation among their constituency or in the society. So we end up with working with individuals in interfaith circles. The third challenge relates to the process of implementing interfaith dialogue. During that process, one of the main obstacles in the beginning and also throughout to convince participants that the format is not for conversion and that the other person in the room is not trying to convert you, and therefore you can let go of your guards or if your defenses against those who are religiously different than you, and you don't have to compete with them for the space to establish positive view of your faith only. This is not a space for conversion. It's a space for understanding and a space for finding common concern to work on them. So overcoming this fear or concern that the other person is coming or other participants is coming to convert or gain advantage over your faith. The fourth one has to do with the theological relevancy, I call it. We do lots of interfaith dialogue, but we don't talk about faith. We don't talk about spirituality. In most cases, we talk about problems, and that's what we call dialogue of life. On the other hand, we do also dialogue of theology, where we talk about theological commonalities and differences. But until now, we are still lacking a space where we can combine those two in an organic way rather than imposing it. And I think this is an important challenge that facilitators and programs have to take into consideration. Finally, I would call bringing God to the policymaker, a challenge that we're all facing. How do we convince policymakers to engage with the religious institution and listen to their recommendation, and vice versa? How do we convince religious leaders, institutions, and interfaith dialoguers to convey what they come out with and bring it to the policymakers in a meaningful way, in a way that their recommendation will be accepted and processed and have an impact with them. Those are the 5 I've chose to share with you. I hope you'll find them useful. Thank you.